Welcome to the IFD series product training videos.
We're using the Michael F. Bauer book, Flying with the Avidyne IFD, which is a scenario-based training guide. We're on to the second set of lessons, Avidyne Advanced.
In this video, we're going to take the IFD550 and enter a full flight plan, including standard arrival and departures. In this scenario, we're going to be flying out of St. Paul, Minneapolis to Chicago Midway. Here's the clearance we got. It's Cessna 1234. You're cleared for the St. Paul Downtown Airport to the Chicago Midway Airport via the Zombro 6 departure. No D transition, ODI. Direct Davenport, CVA. Motif 4 arrival. Climb and maintain 5,000. Squawk 1234. Expect runway 27 for departure. So that's the routing we were given. There's thunderstorms in the area northwest of Chicago, so this is the scenario that we're going to program in. So we've been assigned Zombro 6, no D transition, and runway 27. So let's enter that as first. And you can see I'm on the full FMS page rather than showing the map. This gives us the ability to edit within the waypoint. So here I can select the Zombro 6 departure by pushing in on the FMS. I get the departure menu. Scroll down to Zombro, select it. It asks me what to transition. Of course, there's only one here. ODI is the correct one. And it's runway 27. So there, it loads our entire departure. You can see all the waypoints here. So now that we've got that, the rest of the departure, we're direct CVA Davenport. So let's enter that waypoint. We're going to enter a waypoint and we select CVA. So Charlie, Victor, and it nominates it, Alpha, Geofill. Now we're going to use the Motif 4 arrival into Midway. Well, you can't get a list of the arrivals until you put the destination airport in. So let's put Midway in first. So that's a waypoint. And we will select KMD. And there's W. Geofill filled it in for us. And from there, now we can enter the Motif 4 arrival. When this book was written, the database was different than it is now. There's now a Motif 5 arrival, which is slightly different. But for the sake of this demo, we'll use Motif 5. Because of the database we've got. So again, we're going to go to our edit cursor and I'll scroll up and we're going to select our arrival. I'll push the button and get an FMS menu here. And we want the Motif 5. There it is. Off of CVA. Right there it is. Select it. And now we've got the entire published arrival loaded. And we're off and running. We can activate that and go. So it's pretty easy to do. It's very much plain English. It's self-prompting. If you need to change departures or change arrivals, you can easily reach up there and use either the small knob or just touch a window. If they give you a different runway, say they give you runway 9 instead, you can select it. And you got to remember, you have to put the runway in because the published departure will change based on, or it may change based on the runway, and typically it does. See, as I change runways, the published departure changes. So make sure you put the right runway in. You could also change procedures. You could select a different departure and it's going to change all that routing as well. So it's very easy to edit, very easy to change it. So there you have it. Again, that's in the expanded view. We can compact it. Come over here. There it says the Zombro 6. And then it's to Davenport CVA, to Motif 5 arrival into Midway. So as you can see, entering standard arrivals and departures is super easy with the IFD550. We'll move on next and we'll start looking at intercepting a radial off a heading and OBS mode and things like that. So keep watching. Thanks. we last left off, we had a flight plan from St. Paul Downtown Airport to Chicago Midway using the Zombro 6 departure and the Motif 5 arrival. So we've got that loaded in here as such, all the way down to Midway Airport. So at this section, at this juncture, well, notice where the procedure is telling us to fly vectors as part of our standard departure. Shortly after takeoff, let's say we receive the following clearance. Cessna 1234, turn left heading 185, intercept the Minneapolis 138-degree radial, continue the Zombro 6 departure. So we are going to fly a heading to intercept a radial. So how do we do that? So first thing let's do, we're going to go to the flight plan tab. We are there. Let's do is bring our cursor down to jet it. So we're going to intercept a radial off of Minneapolis. So we want to activate the leg between Minneapolis, MSP, and jet it. So let's highlight over jet it and activate that leg. So now that becomes the active leg. And you can see there it says we want to fly jet it at 4,000. So now let's zoom out here. So let's go over to our map and zoom out. Okay, so we zoomed out and now you can see we're turning, we want to intercept that leg. But as we're flying that route, what happens if we want to intercept a random radial? ATC calls and says, Cessna 1234, on your present heading, intercept the Avidyne 305-degree radial, then continue as filed. All right, so let's figure that one out here. We're going to intercept the Avidyne, so let's go over here. First thing we're going to want to do is go to the same thing. We want to select ODI and activate that leg. Then we want to go to the OBS mode. So we're going to come up here and push in on the button and get us into OBS mode. And we're going to set it for 125 degrees, which is the reciprocal of 305. Remember, we're doing a radial of 305 is 125 degrees inbound because the radial is always outbound on the VOR. So let's put in 305 and you'll see the course line swing by. I'm sorry, I wanted 125. We were talking about that a second ago. The radial of 305 is a course of 125. That makes more sense to me now, graphically. So your aircraft may behave slightly different than the way the simulator is. If you have a external CDI, or let's say you have an Aspen PFD or something, you would do that OBS over there and it would slew the course over here. If you, in this case, we're using the manual OBS on the IFD. We're flying a course of 125 to intercept. That's pretty easy. So when the aircraft crosses the ODI waypoint leg, the IFD will automatically continue to fly inbound as we transition to ODI and then on to CDA. So that's kind of a cool and easy feature. Remember, if you want to intercept a radial, you want to basically activate that leg because you need to be able to find both ends of that leg, and then you can intercept by putting in the course in the OBS mode. Next, we'll talk about course offsets. So stay with us on the next video. Thanks. Hi, this is Tom with Avidyne, and we're looking at the IFD550 today with a neat feature on how to set course offsets. It means instead of flying down the center line of the flight plan leg as you normally would, you can tell the IFD to fly a specified number of miles left or right of course. This could be useful if you wanted to, say, make a temporary deviation around weather or restricted area, that sort of thing. So here's an example, and I've got a flight plan from a previous lesson. But let's say you're trucking along here and center, or you call center and say, Cessna 1234 requests a temporary deviation 5 miles right of course to avoid some weather. The request is approved, so let's set up the IFD to fly that deviation. As you can see here on the FMS flight plan tab, I've got a line select key labeled offset route. So let's select that and let's dial in right 5 miles. If I turn the right knob, it'd be better. So let's go over here and using this knob, we turn it to right 5 miles. And once you enter that, and confirm. And now you'll see a magenta dash line 5 miles to the right of your current course. The aircraft course is going to now deviate over and fly it, and your CDI will give you guidance based on the hash line rather than the solid line. Offset courses usually continue along your flight path for all subsequent waypoints. That is, the offset will automatically go around corners and follow the turns in your flight plan. However, in this case, we're heading to CVA, and it happens to be the beginning of a standard arrival, in which case you can't have an offset, so it will automatically stop when you reach CVA. So you can see it's super easy to enter. At some point, if you choose to delete it, you can, or turn it, and disable it. So to cancel the offset, just hit the button again, and notice you'll say delete offset, and off you go. That dash line will go away, and of course the IFD will try to fly you back on course. There's one other cool feature you can use for deviating around weather, and that's called the rubber band mode to change a flight plan. So let's say you're flying along in this case and there's weather ahead and you decide you want to deviate around the weather. You can reach up and just touch the active flight plan anywhere, and notice it'll turn to cyan, and now you can drag wherever you want and just let go. And let's just let go there. And it's going to create a rubber band waypoint at wherever you took your finger off. So let's select that. And now we'll activate the rubber band waypoint, and we're going to deviate around the weather by flying to that user. Basically, it's a easy way to create a user-defined waypoint. And we'll fly around it until such time we're cleared back on course or as desired. So rubber banding is super easy to do. If you rubber banded near another nav aid, let me see if I can find one here. Let me go over to my map and turn all the nav aids on. So let's say we were rubber banding, and let's grab this one, and I'm going to get it over here near that little, let's go by Kirst. I'm not going to be at Kirst, but I'm going to be darn close. If I let go, or there you take is an intersection. Notice it offers me right where my finger lifted up. It'll make a new user-defined waypoint, or do you want it to snap to the nearest nav aid on the map? In this case is the U-take intersection. So if you were trying to get it to that intersection and you missed it because you were kind of close, this is smart enough to at least give you that option. So we've talked about course offsets, and rubber banding is great ways to use for deviating around special use airspace or weather. There's some other cool features. I hope you'll continue to tune in on our series on IFD550. Thanks. We're on lesson 7 here. In this lesson, we're going to talk about storing flight plans, retrieving flight plans, copying them, inverting them, that sort of thing. In this particular scenario, we've got the NOTAMs for flying from St. Paul into Oshkosh, and we want to preload those flight plans so when the FAM gets out to the airport, we can load up and go. So the clearance I have to get from St. Paul to Oshkosh is, as you can see here, Eau Claire, looks like Maxima, Welch's, Ripon, and then Oshkosh. So we want to save that flight plan. So what we'll do is go over to the stored routes page, routes. So we'll go a couple clicks over or just touch it, and we can copy that active flight plan. So we hit the copy button, and now it puts it in as one of our routes, and it gives it a name. It called it STP to Osh. So if we want to, we can rename that flight plan. In which case I'll bring up the keyboard and let's call it Osh Space Air Venture. So now when we go back to the route list, it'll be called Osh Air Venture. So I know that's what it is. Now another thing we can do is we can invert a flight plan. So if we want, we can select that one, and instead of copying, we can invert. And now it's made one, notice, from Osh to STP. So we're heading back. Of course, that's not the exact flight plan that we're given based on the NOTAM. So we're going to want to delete a couple waypoints and add a couple of waypoints. We need to take out ripping, so we'll highlight it and clear it. And we'll take out this Welch's and clear it. Instead, we want to add it's CEBMU. So just use our insert cursor and enter a waypoint, CEB, and it nominates, that's correct. Add another waypoint, which is GWiz. I love these names. GWIZZ, GWiz, enter. So now that's our actual clear, per the NOTAM on our return trip. And again, if we want to rename that one, we can come up here and call it home from Osh. And when we go back to our route list, so there's Osh Air Venture and there's home from Osh. They're preloaded and ready to go. So let's clear the current route. So all I'm going to do is highlight that and hit clear and delete the active route. So there we go. Now it's cleared. So if we go back to routes, there's no active route. Again, in the real airplane, you can set your origin, but it'll know where you're at. KSTP, we'll put it in there for the demo. If we want to load one of these stored routes, so we simply scroll over to it. In this case, let's head to Oshkosh now. We're going to activate that route. Actually, we're going to load the route and then we'll activate once we get it loaded. It says activate the route, so let's do that. And then it says activate the flight plan, in which case you do that. Now it'll make the first waypoint at the active waypoint, and then you can continue on. So another thing we could do is if we wanted to create a new stored flight plan, so we could come up here under new route, hit enter, and let's put in a route from STP to just to Osh direct. Okay, Osh. So you could easily enter a route like that, and now it's in the list. And at any point, if you wanted to activate it, you can do that. So you can either build a flight plan and then copy it into the route list, or you can go in and create a new route in the route list and then activate it or whatever. If you want to delete any of the stored flight plans, again, scroll over it and hit clear and delete that flight plan. It'll disappear from the stored route list. If you're using ForeFlight to load a flight plan, if you're doing a flight plan at home on your ForeFlight and you bring it out to the airplane, it's going to transfer that stored route right into this route list, and then you will activate it as we showed here. We'll cover that in a separate video, but that's where all that happens, all that stored route management. So you can see that storing routes, loading different flight plans, and saving and storing routes and inverting them is really easy with the IFD. Next, we'll talk about holding patterns, entering holds, etc. Join us for that. Thanks. And today we're going to talk about flying random holds and other holding patterns and how to enter those, edit, and delete them. So let's do that real quick. In this particular example, we've got a flight plan from Quad City to Chicago Midway. It's all set and we're trucking along. And let's say here we are. J. Paul is our active waypoint. And we get a call from center that says, Piper 1234, hold south of the Waukee intersection on a 180-degree radial, left-hand turns, expect further clearance at 1615 Zulu. So this is considered a random hold. So what we're going to do is we're going to want to enter a hold after Waukee or at Waukee. So we'll highlight, move the insert cursor down just past the Waukee intersection. And now I'm going to use my FMS button and I push in on it and I get my standard menu, which I can always enter a waypoint. But look, what we want to do is do the hold. And again, I can reach up and touch or scroll down. We're going to hold at Waukee. We push enter again by pushing in on the FMS button. And notice it adds a hold right after Waukee. So what we're going to do is we're going to highlight the cursor And let's use our side tab to get our map. And again, we'll take our view expand button and switch it to view cursor. So now it's going to show us our hold because we've got it highlighted over that waypoint. You saw in some of the previous videos, when you're in the view cursor mode, it'll take you to that particular waypoint. So here, notice we've got a standard hold, but that's not the hold that we were given. This is on our current flight plan, as you can see here. So what we want to do is edit that. They said they wanted left turns and they wanted 180-degree radial. So what we want to do is come over here where it says right. And again, I can use the small knob, or I can just reach up and touch that, push in and turn while it's white. It'll edit it and change it to a left turn. The other way to do that is to just touch it and it'll toggle between left and right. We want left turns. Then we'll come over here where it says 103. Now this is a course 2. We want the radial, we were given the radial from of 180, so we want to put the course in of 360. So let's type that in, which will be the 180-degree radial. So now we're good to go there. Let's go back to our map. And now you can see that our holding pattern has rotated to correspond to what we were assigned. And you'll also notice it says to hold south now instead of holding west, which is what the default was. If we go to the full map page, you can see it nice and clean. So now when we want to enter and fly that hold, it's going to be very obvious because of the next leg is always the magenta and white segmented or candy cane. So now you can see where our next leg is. Makes it easy to know how you're going to enter. So as you cross the holding fix, a message will appear that says you're performing a parallel entry. There it is. Now you're going to want to make the turn. Your CDI will be giving you instruction. Notice your next leg now is the teardrop. The message center gives you the bearing for your current leg. So as you can see, with the next leg, segmented leg of magenta and white, it makes it super easy to know exactly what to do and when. The IFD550 and all the IFDs for that matter make it really easy to fly a hold. It takes a lot of the mental gymnastics out of it. When you're fully established in the hold, the entire hold pattern will be magenta. All other legs will be white. There are no barber pole legs, as you can see. There's no next leg because you're stuck in the hold, right? So let's say you're flying along in the hold now, and ATC comes back and says, Piper 1, 2, 3, 4. After walkie, you're cleared on course. So now what you want to do is let's go back over to the FMS flight plan tab. And notice down in the FMS Butler in the lower left corner, you've got a button called Exit Hold. So let's press the Exit Hold button. And notice it'll say Exiting Hold at the fix, which is what we were instructed to do. If for some reason that were to change, you can continue the hold. But in this case, we're going to exit the hold. Notice we now have a barber pole or a next leg. The FMS knows it's anticipating that transition. When the aircraft reaches the walkie intersection, it will exit the hold and proceed with the rest of the flight plan. So it leaves the pattern and turns on course for the next waypoint, in this case, BDF. So as you can see, we've entered an unpublished hold at a random waypoint. We were easily able to enter it. We had obvious instruction on how to get into the hold, how to edit the hold, how to exit the hold, and now we're back on course. Up next, we'll program a published hold and see how that works. Okay, now let's talk about programming a published hold. Published holding patterns are included in the IFD's database, so it should know the proper procedures when you enter the holding pattern on a published waypoint. Sometimes there are exceptions, though. So let's continue this scenario, and you get a call from center that says Piper 1, 2, 3, 4, hold as published at Bradford, 5 mile legs, Expect further clearance at 1700 Zulu. So let's get over here to our flight plan as we are. We're going to enter a hold. So let's go to put the insert cursor right after the Bradford VOR. Notice it's part of the Motif 5 or Motif 4 arrival. So it has a published hold. If we look at the Motif 4 arrival in the book, it says that you fly on the 247-degree radial. So we're going to push in on the button to load the hold. It gives us the menu. We select hold at Bradford. And it's going to ask us for either holds of 1.5 or 1 minute legs. We'll select 1 minute. Now we were clear on 5 mile legs, not timed legs. So this is the published hold. But in this case, the controller wants to give us some longer legs, so we're doing fewer turns. Apparently we're going to be here a little while. So now it says we're holding southwest of Bradford, and it's set at 247 degrees, which is the radial. But again, we're showing the course, so we want to have the reciprocal, and it's smart enough to know that. So it's 67 degrees. So let's change the 1 minute legs to 5 mile legs. So we would take our FMS knob and the small knob and turn it and put it over the 1 mile, push in to change it white for editing, spin up to 5 miles. Or again, you can touch the field and it'll give you a keyboard to type it in. I like to do that. And now our minutes, we can push in to change it from minutes to nautical miles. So now we've edited our flight plan, our hold. Let's go back over to let's pull our side tab out, and you can see the map with the flight plan. So in the previous examples, we've seen how to exit a hold by crossing the holding fix, as was done in the first scenario, and then we've also just proceeded directly to another waypoint. Now what we want to do is proceed directly to the holding fix and then exit the hold. So, okay, now we want to exit this hold. We get a call from ATC that says Piper 1234, cleared direct Bradford, cleared on course. So now what we want to do is highlight Bradford, not the hold waypoint, but the Bradford waypoint, and we're cleared direct. So let's hit the direct 2 key and enter and activate. So now we're going to go direct to Bradford. Now notice the hold is still there. What we can do is we can see that the holding pattern is still there in the magenta line, so it's kind of confused. It's going to want to go back into the hold. So let's highlight the hold waypoint and clear it. Now you can see we'll get back on track and head to Bradford. So as you can see with the IFD550, adding a holding pattern to your flight plan is super easy, as is deleting it. We can easily enter the parameters of a hold. Even with a published hold, the IFD has all that information in the database. We can use it as is, or we can easily manipulate it as well. The IFD is designed to make your flying easier, and I think the IFD550 really does a great job with entering and exiting holds. Hi, this is Tom with Avidyne, and up next we're going to fly the IFD550 and shoot some RNAV GPS approaches. We've got a highly capable IFD here that is designed to shoot whatever type of approaches may be available based on the minimums, etc. We've got LNAV plus V, LNAV, VNAV, LPV, LP, and LP plus V. So the equipment is capable of flying any of these approaches as they're available. And we're going to take you through some of those. The first of which, we're going to do a GPS full approach with no procedure turn, and then segment to a missed approach. We're referencing the Flying with the Avidyne IFD book by Michael F. Bauer. It's kind of a scenario-based trainer. I encourage you to check it out. We're in lesson 9 here. So what we're going to do is we've got a flight plan that's from Fond du Lac, Wisconsin to Oshkosh to Appleton. As you can see here, we're trucking along. Shortly after takeoff, we get the weather, and ATC tells us to expect GPS approach to runway 3 with using the Oshkosh transition. So let's load that up. So we're going to hit the procedure and select the RNAV 3. You can see a preview of it. You'll notice as I scroll through the different approaches, I'll get a procedure preview, we call it, of any and all of the approaches. It's really clever, and it's a nice way to get visual feedback. before you select it. It's got it highlighted. I want that one, RNAV 3, and we are transitioning at Oshkosh, so we'll select it. And now the entire approach is loaded, and our missed approach is loaded. We're ready to roll. You'll notice as you cross the Oshkosh waypoint, the GPS to LPV mode will light up in the nav source state window up here. This indicates that your IFD has LPV navigation active and will transition to the LPV mode when it begins the approach. We're still in the terminal mode as it shows here. Okay, when we cross the Apixie intersection and begin our final approach course, the nav source state window shows that you have now transitioned to LPV. So as we do that, we can expect the nav mode to switch to LPV. There it is. If I switched over to, on a 550, I've got the attitude sensor, so I can show this egocentric out the window view. It gives me a full left-right CDI and vertical deviation indicator. As you can see, I'm right on center line for the approach. I'm still below the glide slope as I move toward Wooten. Got full scale deflection. As we continue, we'll fly right into the beam. Now you can see the vertical deviation is coming alive now. Now we've got a centered deviation. It says to begin our descent now. This is where you would, as a pilot, push the airplane over, re-engage your autopilot if you choose. The simulation will not descend here. We're just going to fly straight and level. It will track inbound and we'll follow the approach course until we reach the missed approach point. You'll see the runways appear down below. We'll go ahead and let it track all the way out. The IFD, in this case, we're going to fly the missed approach to the holding waypoint. One of the nice things with the IFD550, or any of the IFDs for that matter, it's a great way to fly a stabilized approach, even if it's VFR. It gives you a way to get some vertical guidance and fly a nice stabilized approach into any airport that's so equipped. You can actually see the runway down below here. Now we're going to fly the mist, transition to a SIGI or however you pronounce it. You can see there's our missed approach procedure. Go up here. The mist says fly direct 30 degrees to a SIGI, cross adder above 2700. Very intuitive, very easy to use, very easy to see what's happening at any given instant. The IFD550 gives us a lot of capability and makes it super easy to shoot instrument approaches using RNAV GPS. Okay, in this next approach, we're going to do a GPS full approach with a course reversal hold. So following on from the previous place, we're sitting here holding at the SIGI intersection. Let's go into the procedure mode, and we're going to continue to fly the RNAV 3 approach again from here. And we want to select the Apixie transition. There you can see the procedure preview coming up on the screen. Select that. It says, do you want to replace the active approach? Yes, we do. So approve that. As soon as you accept the new approach, this will now turn and exit and hold and proceed to the Apixie waypoint, which, as you can see, that's what we're doing now. The new approach is now active. GPS LPV. So we come over here. You can see we're flying inbound. Aircraft reaches the Apixie intersection will automatically enter the course reversal hold as depicted here. And note that the message exiting hold at fix appears in the lower right corner. Indicates that unlike holding patterns you've seen so far, you will not remain in this hold. It's only for a course reversal purposes. So the IFD will automatically exit the hold when you cross the holding fix inbound. You can confirm that you will exit the hold by noting that the leg after the hold is displayed as a barber pole, so it's not expecting to continue the hold. But there are times, however, when you would want to remain in a hold. This could happen if you had not been cleared for the approach and you had to wait in the hold for another aircraft to clear the airspace. In that case, you would hit the continue hold button and you would remain in the hold indefinitely until such time you were cleared otherwise and exit appropriately. And when you exit the hold, you would be aligned properly with the final approach course. So now if I switch over here, when we get to a pixie, we should bring our CDIs in. And see, now we've passed a pixie. We're centered right on the center line of the runway with the CDI, left, right. We're below the glide path. We will intercept that at Wooten and then we'll descend down to the MDA. Now we've intersected the glide slope. We're still below, but it's come alive. On the IFD550, it shows you a nice clear depiction. Here's our leg change. Now here's the point where you would transition to Wooten, and now we're going to descend. I'm in the simulated mode, so it's not going to descend, but in the real world airplane, you of course would pitch down and decouple the autopilot and it would fly you down. So you can see that flying approaches is really easy. It's highly automated on the IFD. In this case, we did a GPS full approach with a course reversal hold.
And that covers the Avidyne IFD550 advanced lessons. Appreciate you taking the time to watch. We will follow with a future video on the IFD power user settings. In the meantime, fly safe out there and have a great day.